welcome! How's it going, bros? Don't you just love sensationalized headlines in the news? It's great. My dad, my mom, they both send me these extremely sensational news articles saying, oh, drinking Dr. Publix will give you cancer. Oh, doing this thing that you do will give you cancer. Oh, there's a chemical that we found in this food that everyone eats that is bad for you because it's a chemical. It has a name that you can't pronounce. Oh, don't you just love that style of journalism? It's the best. It's the most fantastic thing ever to have been created. This room is way more echoey without the sleeping bag there. Holy shit. Little bit of an idea. It's just all this empty space here is creating one time, my dad did not allow me to eat cheeseburgers for like a year, even though that's my favorite food, because he saw on Fox News that red meat might cause cancer. So the articles being sensationalized is one thing, but when it actually directly affects my life, it's another thing. And that's why I've made it my life's mission to go out and stop this madness from happening. Today, we're gonna be taking a look at a CBC News piece, a hidden camera investigation of trampoline park safety, things like Sky Zone. CBC is a Canadian news source, I believe. I think it's Canadian. So let's see if your kids might be in danger. Oh man, I know my kids are in danger because having fun is dangerous. Let's take a look.
Audio's recording. Undercover across the country.
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
What are you signing away?
Did I read it? No.
Possibility of physical, emotional injury, paralysis, death, and property damage.
Your kid's gonna die. If they go to a trampoline park, as I put it, your kid is gonna die. It's game over. They're just gonna die. You gotta love how they're making it sound as scary as possible, when in reality, it's a room full of trampolines. It's a room full of trampolines. Kids are gonna get injured. That's the nature of it. But that's part of growing up. That's part of being a kid. You get injured and you learn not to take stupid risks. If a kid decides, oh, I can do a flip here, then they land on their freaking back, it's gonna hurt. They're not gonna do it again. Really, anything that involves having fun, you accept a certain amount of risk. Because that's life. When you get in a car to drive somewhere, you have a much higher chance of dying than not getting in a car and driving somewhere. But number one, it's fun to drive places, and number two, you get there faster. Everything you do has risk. When I get on a roller coaster at Disney World, I'm accepting a higher chance of death than not getting on the roller coaster. Even though it's extremely safe. It's the same with any physical activity, like football. You accept the risk of injury. Soccer, any contact sport, and even non-contact sport. Tennis, you could slip and fall and land on your elbow and break it. I mean, there's chance of injury almost everywhere you look.
Said they don't assume any responsibility for your kid.
Why would they assume responsibility? If I owned anything that involved liability, I would accept no liability. I'd make sure there's a contract because that's the legal side of things. If there's a chance of injury at all, I will have a contract that says I can accept no responsibility for anything. Workplaces have that, even if you work in an office building. Nobody wants to be sued for something that isn't their fault. If your kid gets hurt, it's not the place's fault, necessarily. If they're just being stupid, it's your kid's fault. Not really, it's your fault as a parent for not watching and parenting your child. Now, there are cases where it is the operations that are at fault. Maybe the trampoline wasn't up to code or whatever, but it's much more likely your kid is gonna get injured due to your lack of parenting. So.
The truth about trampoline parks on your marketplace.
This is edited like a Shane Dawson documentary, like made to look just like, the gasps. Everything is just made to look as scary as possible. Clips that are unrelated to what's being talked about, like kids doing flips on trampolines. Oh man.
It's a kid's paradise. Trampoline parks are bouncing into cities across the country.
Oh shit, that pun. Put this in the middle. We interrupt this programming. Wee woo, wee woo. For just $1 per month, you can support me on patreon.com. All the lovely current patrons are on your screen right now. Without them, this would not be possible. Thank you to the lovely patrons. Oh my gosh. Please support me, patreon.com, link down below.
On a cross-country safety spot check. It's an unregulated industry.
Yeah, the news is totally qualified to do a safety check on a trampoline park. I trust my news to do a proper investigation. Definitely.
It's an unregulated industry. No one is watching.
Unregulated industry. That's what I like to call a buzzword. Unregulated. Oh my gosh, so scary.
Last year, 17-year-old Landon Smith breaks his neck in the foam pit at this trampoline park in Sherwood Park, Alberta. He's now a quadriplegic. Then at this park in Hamilton, Ontario, 18-year-old Blake Davies breaks his neck, paralyzing him from the chest down. And earlier this year, in Richmond, BC, Jay Greenwood dies in front of his 2 young daughters after jumping into the foam pit.
So that's 2 paralyzations and 1 death. That's 3 major injuries and death out of the millions of people who visit these lovely trampoline parks. You know how many people per capita die in car accidents or get paralyzed in car accidents? The percentage is much higher than people who are getting paralyzed or dying at a trampoline park. And here's the thing, when you're driving a car, you don't have to worry about just your actions, but the actions of other people on the road. If someone else makes a mistake, you could lose your life. That's somewhat true at a trampoline park. If someone is like bouncing all over the damn place and bounces into you, it could cause an injury, but it's mostly in your control at a trampoline park. Your risk of injury is much lower than most other physical activities. I don't know if that would be true. Let's not say that. Your risk of injury is really not anything crazy. It's not shocking. It's there because there's a risk with every physical activity, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. If you're so worried about it, you need to be worried about getting in a car. Don't ever leave your house because it might hail, golf ball sized hail, which could give you a concussion or crack your skull open. Anything can happen if you leave your house. Even in your house, there could be a fire. There could be an earthquake. You could die. You might as well die right now.
Dr. Laura Pkrussl agrees to look at some of what we see. She's part of a team tracking kids' injuries at 18 hospitals across the country.
With trampoline parks, the main concern is that the tensile strength of the mat itself is stronger, so that the bounce is harder.
Okay, thank you, doctor, giving us buzzwords like Tensil Strength. Here's the thing that the media has figured out. The news media. If you use words like Tensil Strength, it's coming from a doctor, right? It's a word that we don't understand as commoners. We have to trust the doctor because we're too stupid to understand it. Tensil Strength, that sounds scary. The reality of the situation is this doctor provides no sources for anything she's saying. She could just be saying it off the top of her head. What is the actual tensile strength as measured by people who are qualified to measure tensile strength? And is it actually higher than an average trampoline? And if so, does it even matter? Because these are professional grade trampolines, unlike the ones in your backyard, which are consumer grade trampolines. It all depends on all those different factors. Show me some sources. Don't just say stuff and expect me to believe it because I'm a dumb consumer. Most people just believe anything that someone on TV says. Show some sources. Prove it.
The hospital data shows that bounce leads to a higher proportion of lower body injuries at trampoline parks compared to backyard trampolines.
Well, maybe that's because more people visit trampoline parks than people own trampolines in their backyard. I went to a school with like 70 kids and there were like 3 people who had a backyard trampoline. So, if you spend most of your time on a trampoline at a trampoline park because you don't own a trampoline, you would expect your rate of injury to be higher at the trampoline park because you don't spend as much time on backyard trampolines. There's so much extra data that they're not taking into account here. That could be anything. It's less than 10% higher at a trampoline park. And keep this in mind, a backyard trampoline is a small little tiny circle, you know? A trampoline park is a giant warehouse full of trampolines everywhere. You can bounce all over the damn place. There's more risk for injury at a trampoline park because there's more going on. There's more people there. They're not taking into account anything other than just injuries happen more often, but they're not looking at the why.
Watch the little girl in the purple shirt.
So they're being affected by the bounce of the other
She looks dead. I mean, I think she died.
Kids talk about it. Chelsea decides to do a belly flop into the foam pit.
When she landed, her back bent backwards, so she hyperextended her back and she heard a crack. And she had so much pain in that moment.
Later, back at Grandma's,
I asked her to stand up, and that's when she realized she couldn't stand up. She couldn't feel her legs.
Wow.
And then she started saying, my bum is burning hot, my legs are burning hot. It's so much pain, Mom.
One piece of anecdotal evidence. One little anecdotal story about a back injury that happens at trampoline parks. If you're like me, you're not surprised that injury occurs with physical activity sometimes. If you're a dumb average person watching this, you might think, oh my gosh, this girl got injured there. That must mean everyone gets injured there. Like, what do you, this is an anecdotal story. People belly flop in foam pits all the time. This is the one instance that it caused an injury because she landed the exact wrong way. It happens, but it's not that often that it happens. This is anecdotal. I want to see statistics that say that this happens frequently enough for it to actually be a concern, because it's not. It doesn't happen that often. This is anecdotal. It's nothing. It means nothing. Your chance of getting paralyzed on a trampoline or having a spinal injury is so incredibly low. I don't know why I mean, I do understand, because they're making it sound like it's going to happen to everyone. They're trying to fearmonger and make people, because what happens is if you're scared, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this was possible. You're going to share it. You're going to share this news story with all your friends and all your family, especially those who have kids. And they're going to look at it and do the same thing and share with everyone. It's going to go viral, and they're going to make a hell of a lot of ad revenue. It's all about money. It's all about money. They know that it's not really that dangerous, but they know that if they make it sound scary, everyone's going to be like, oh my god, oh!
Cuts, bruises, muscle and joints, sprains and strains, broken bones, equipment failure, falling off the equipment.
Sky Zone employees have difficult jobs to perform. They seek to create a safe environment, but they are not perfect. Oh my god.
So they're literally telling you all the possible injuries and risks associated with jumping on these trampolines. By you signing this waiver, you're saying, I accept that this might happen, and I'm gonna take the risk and have fun regardless. I would sign the waiver myself, but the thing is, if you don't read the waiver that they literally force you to sign before you can actually access the trampoline park, it's your fault. They literally tell you, you might die. You might die. You might have a head injury. You might have a sprain. You might get cuts. You might get bruises. And if you literally have the opportunity to read that, they provide you with that information. And if you don't accept and you don't want to read it, that's your fault. They literally tell you what could happen. So for you to be shocked, like, oh my gosh, I had no idea you could get injured here, that's ridiculous. That's entirely your fault. You need to read every single thing that you sign. That's just how it works. If you don't read everything you sign, you're an idiot.
Then this baby is allowed to crawl across the trampoline, getting double bounced by an older boy.
Whose parent? What? Where was the parent? How do you allow your baby onto a trampoline like that? That is in no way the place's responsibility. That's the parent's responsibility for turning their baby loose. You can't do that as a parent. It's entirely the parent's fault. If that baby got injured, it would be the parent's fault entirely. So that's basically that. CBC Canada, terrible hit piece on trampoline parks like Sky Zone. Is Sky Zone killing your children? Yes! I can't stand things like this. I can't stand when the news does this, they try to villainize something. Because you know what happens? These kids who get so excited to go to Sky Zone, if they have a parent like mine who takes everything they see on the news seriously, my dad, if he saw this on Fox News, would have not allowed me to go to Sky Zone, ever. He would have never allowed me to go to Sky Zone. And all my friends would be going without me, even though it's not even that dangerous. It's a physical activity. It's no more dangerous than soccer, football, all that stuff. That's how my dad would have handled it. I know a lot of parents, especially nowadays, are the same way. It's shocking sensationalism that gets the parents all riled up. Did you know your kids might be susceptible to danger? But then they let their babies crawl all over the trampolines. They don't read the waivers that they sign on behalf of their children, saying that their children might die or get injured. You know, it's like your parenting priorities are in the wrong place all the time. Terrible. Sky Zone is perfectly fine activity to do. You could get injured, but that's only if you're being a dumbass. Don't be a dumbass. If you are, you'll learn from it, because you'll get injured. You'll learn from it. Thank you for watching, everyone! I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to check out my Patreon. Don't forget to check out my Patreon, link down below. Also, check out my second channel, Oh Whoa, What's This? Here's a lovely little clip.
Hey, save some pussy for the rest of us.
Say some what?
That'll be linked down below. Go check it out. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Links will be down below for those as well. Thank you for watching. Leave a dislike if you liked, leave a comment if you liked, and leave a comment. Have a nice day, everyone. I'll see you next time.